What is an automatic top-off system for a reef tank? So this obviously doesn't look like a reef tank right now. We just filled up our new 30-gallon SPS tank and we've got most of the equipment hooked up except for our auto top-off system. So what is an ATO or an auto top-off system? If you did not know, in a reef tank, you of course have salt water, and when that water evaporates out of the tank, the salt stays behind. So the salinity level inside of your reef tank or the water is going to go up, and you need to counteract that with adding fresh water inside of the tank to keep that salinity level stable. Now, instead of manually topping off the tank with fresh water every day, you can get a system and a reservoir that keeps your fresh water to pump in fresh water every time that water evaporates. Now, how it does this is there is a little sensor or some sort of float valve that's going to trigger water getting poured back into your tank. As the water drops below that sensor, it's going to tell the pump to pump fresh water back inside of the tank. And if we come all the way down here, it's not quite hooked up yet, but we've got the pump with the tube here, and there is a small pump inside of this reservoir with fresh water that is going to get sent back into the tank. So let's go ahead and set it up. This is a roughly 5-gallon reservoir that we have here, and if we go into it, we've got this end here which is supposed to get attached to the tank, and this is going to be where the water is getting pumped from the reservoir into the aquarium. We've got the tube hooked up to the back here. You want to make sure that the tube is not submerged in the water, because if this shuts off, you can have a back siphon, which will pretty much just fill this reservoir up and it could flow over. So make sure that this is out of the water. And we've got it next to the sensor here so that once it fills up, obviously it's going to cut off. Of course, we have the plug as well as the little connector down here for the ATO. So once we plug this in, the sensor is going to turn on, and it is a little bit high, so it's going to read that there is not enough water in the tank, so it'll pump water back in. We're just going to set it a little bit lower, and then once we plug it all in, I'll give you guys a demonstration. So it's actually good that I'm making this video, because I realized that this chamber here is going to drop before this chamber, so we actually need to move the sensor over to somewhere over here. We re-plugged in the sensor there, and it's reading that the water is not high enough, and it's going to pump water back in from our fresh reservoir over there. It's a pretty simple concept, but it makes life a lot easier, and it makes your tank more stable because you're going to have constant water getting pumped into the tank when that evaporation or the water level goes down, and it'll just make the salinity stay a little bit more even over time.